In the early hours of September 21, 2025, a quiet suburb called Florencia Verde, a working-class sprawl on the southern rim of Ciudad Esperanza, the capital of Valmora, became the focus of a nation's horror. At 1:17 a.m., a live video appeared on an obscure streaming site used mostly for underground music events. The title read, "A Message from the Syndicate." The footage was grainy but unmistakable. Three young women sat tied to metal chairs, faces streaked with fear, while unseen men spoke behind the camera in low, local accents. Within minutes, the stream was mirrored, downloaded, and reshared faster than authorities could react. By sunrise, millions had seen it. Within hours, Florencia Verde was crawling with police, journalists, and protesters demanding answers. The video's origin would lead investigators into a tangle of organized crime, digital exploitation, and gendered violence, one that would define Valmora's year. Camila and Isabel Duarte had grown up together in Florencia Verde. The cousins shared a cramped apartment above a bakery, living on inconsistent jobs. Camila worked part-time at a salon. Isabel freelanced as a graphic artist. Both were restless, tired of scraping by in a neighborhood where opportunity was something people left for, not found. Sofia Marin, 15, looked up to them like older sisters. Her mother cleaned offices at night, leaving Sofia often unsupervised. When the older girls invited her to something special, a paid private party promising quick cash, she hesitated only briefly. The invitation had come from Mateo El Tiger Rojas, a tall, broad-shouldered man in his 30s with slicked-back black hair and a serpent tattoo coiling from his neck down his arm. Around Florencia Verde, Rojas was known as a nightclub promoter. But to the police, he was a runner for the Velasco Syndicate, a violent network controlling drug routes through southern Valmora. 2 days before the stream, Rojas approached the cousins at a cafe. "It's a simple gig," he said, tapping his phone. "You show up, keep company, dance, smile. You walk out with cash." For three young women fighting rent and hunger, it sounded harmless enough. On the night of September 20th, Camila texted her mother that she'd be out late. Isabel told her roommate she had a modeling thing. Sofia slipped out quietly, leaving a note, "Staying over with ISA." At 10:36 p.m., a surveillance camera captured the three of them stepping into a white van parked near the old train yard. The driver wore a baseball cap pulled low. The vehicle's plates were registered to a logistics firm later traced to a Velasco Syndicate shell. By 11:10 p.m., the van reached a dilapidated warehouse on the outskirts of Florencia Verde. Inside, 4 cameras were already positioned, mounted on tripods. There was no party, no music, only silence and concrete. When investigators later analyzed the recovered footage, the timestamp showed the live stream began at 1:17 a.m., just 30 minutes after the women arrived. When the stream began, thousands of people assumed it was staged. The masked figures in the frame shouted gang slogans and accusations about traitors, using language familiar to those who followed the Velasco Syndicate's feuds online. But as the minutes passed, the truth became unmistakable. By dawn, fragments of the footage were circulating across multiple platforms. Attempts to remove them only amplified their spread. Within 12 hours, hashtags like #FlorenciaVerde, #NIUNAMAS, and #JusticeForValmora were trending across the region. The National Bureau of Cybercrime took over the investigation. Analysts traced the stream's origin to a prepaid SIM card registered under a false name, but one connected to the same logistics company owning the van. Inside the Cybercrime Bureau's command center, digital forensics expert Leandro Castro watched the footage on loop, trying to capture a reflection in one of the camera lenses that could identify the men behind the masks. Public outrage surged. Within days, Florencia Verde saw its largest protests in decades, tens of thousands of women filling the streets, chanting "Ni una menos, ni una más muerta." While the nation grieved, law enforcement moved quickly. A week later, a raid on a warehouse north of Ciudad Esperanza uncovered the van and several discarded tripods. DNA confirmed traces from the victims. The name Mateo Rojas surfaced through an encrypted chat recovered from one of the gang members' phones. He had fled the city hours before the stream began, disappearing toward Valmora's borderlands. Investigators pieced together a grim picture. The killings were a deliberate act of propaganda, an attempt by the Velasco Syndicate to project dominance after a major drug seizure the week before. The live stream wasn't just violence, it was digital intimidation. Weeks passed with no arrests. News anchors repeated the same phrases: ongoing investigation, digital trail, interagency coordination. Yet in Florencia Verde, the mood turned from grief to fear. Residents whispered about vans without plates, strangers photographing street corners. One night, local journalist Valeria Benitez received an anonymous tip. If you want to know why they did it, look at the ports. Her report exposed a major smuggling operation linking the Velasco syndicate to corrupt customs officials. But before it aired, her newsroom was vandalized. She fled the capital 2 days later. Behind closed doors, the government debated imposing stricter online controls. Critics called it censorship, officials called it digital counterterrorism. A breakthrough came when investigators traced a cryptocurrency wallet tied to one of the syndicate's shell accounts. It was used to pay for the warehouse's rent and streaming equipment. The digital signature matched Mateo El Tiger Rojas. On October 29, police raided a farm near the coastal town of San Bravino. They found Rojas hiding in a shipping container with a forged passport and several phones. He surrendered without resistance. In custody, Rojas offered one statement: "It wasn't my idea. I just followed the script." The syndicate's leadership, however, remained untouched. Files recovered from Rojas's phone suggested the stream had been approved by higher-ups as part of a campaign of terror. The court proceedings dragged for months. By the time the trial began, public attention had shifted. Another scandal, another outrage, dominated headlines. The warehouse in Florencia Verde was demolished 6 months later. On the same ground, activists painted a mural, 3 women, eyes open, staring directly at the viewer. Beneath them, in bold red paint, they wanted silence. We gave them echoes. Forensic teams never recovered all fragments of the original stream. Copies still circulate in the darker corners of the internet, muted, distorted, but eternal. In Valmora, the government passed new cybercrime laws, though critics argued they came too late. The syndicate fractured but didn't die, it adapted. And the people of Florencia Verde still live between police raids and protest marches, between memory and forgetting. The night of September 21st remains a scar, a moment when the boundaries between crime, media, and technology vanished, and a nation saw itself reflected in the cold light of a screen.